One of the highly anticipated prospects after the F1 April break-ins is how the ADUO system will work. The implementation of the first phase of ADUO, which will be implemented at the Canadian Grand Prix, is predicted to have several impacts on the F1 competitive landscape, which is indeed one of the FIA's goals in creating this system. A DUO is a system that allows every manufacturer in F1 to access additional development and upgrades in the development of new engine regulations. The mechanism is that each manufacturer's performance will be evaluated every 6 races, or over 3 phases. Any manufacturer that is 2 to 4% behind the fastest engine will be eligible for additional upgrades commensurate with their allocated performance gap. The main goal of ADUO is to prevent large performance gaps between manufacturers and give those lagging behind the competition an opportunity to catch up with the fastest engine. In short, the FIA does not want a repeat of Mercedes' total dominance at the start of the hybrid era, which would certainly impact the commercial side of F1 itself. A DUO will provide manufacturers with additional dyno testing and rehomologation opportunities for performance-oriented engine modifications. A DUO will still consume the budget cap, but some of the expenses will be accommodated through the FIA mechanism and will not be as large as regular upgrades. This mechanism is clearly very different from the balance of performance (BOP) found in WEC or endurance racing in general. In endurance racing, each car has a different engine configuration, body shape, and aerodynamics, requiring committee intervention through the BOP to balance performance levels. However, in F1, all engine configurations are the same, and ADUO is not a form of direct intervention by the FIA, as the mechanism is determined based on each manufacturer's performance output. The purpose of ADUO is not to balance the car, but to provide manufacturers with the opportunity to add upgrades to catch up. This means that ADU is simply a facility provided by the FIA, while the final result is still determined by the meritocracy of how well each manufacturer utilizes this mechanism. This is similar to the Aero Handicap rule, which functions similarly to ADUO, but focuses on aerodynamics and is determined based on the constructor's standings. Now, which teams will benefit or lose from the implementation of the first phase of ADUO? First, let's take a look at the prospects for the first phase of ADUO, where Mercedes is the benchmark team with the most powerful engine on the current grid. 3 manufacturers are likely to receive additional upgrades: Ferrari, Audi, and Honda. What's interesting is that the performance gap between these 3 manufacturers and Mercedes is more than 4%, meaning Mercedes and Red Bull RBPT are the only 2 manufacturers not receiving ADU or homologation changes. It's not entirely accurate to say that Mercedes is the team that will suffer the most from ADUO, as they are the manufacturer with the most powerful engine currently. Their greatest strength lies not only in their powerful engine, but also in how Mercedes optimizes that engine through their excellent software. However, if we examine each team using Mercedes engines, the impact of this head-to-head could vary depending on the level of competition. Alpine will likely be the most impacted by this head-to-head. In the opening 3 races, the Mercedes engine's power has significantly impacted their car's performance. Top speed and battery deployment on the straights have often been the difference between them and HAS or Red Bull. This was particularly evident in the Suzuka race, where Max Verstappen struggled to overtake Pierre Gasly. If this head-to-head could provide additional performance to Ferrari's engine, Alpine's position could be overtaken by HAS, which has a slightly superior chassis and aerodynamics. The main factory team, Mercedes, will also clearly be affected, but their status as the fastest team currently, boasting an average advantage of up to 0.4 seconds per lap, will likely be difficult for Ferrari to overtake. However, one thing worth emphasizing is that despite Ferrari's power unit weaknesses, they can still put up a fight against Mercedes in the opening 3 rounds. George Russell's inability to overtake Charles Leclerc at Suzuka should have been enough of a wake-up call for Mercedes that Ferrari had a chance to catch up with ADUO. Suzuka provided a window of opportunity that made rival teams wonder if Mercedes could still be beaten. Namely, their weakness in dirty air conditions. Kimi Antonelli was stuck for a long time behind Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, while Russell was also stuck behind Oscar Piastri, unable to overtake Leclerc. However, Mercedes' superiority arguably doesn't stem entirely from the engine. The W17's chassis is remarkably stable, making both drivers superior on long runs, and it also offers minimal tire degradation. When Ferrari receives an upgrade, Mercedes will clearly be more cautious, especially in the early stages of the race, as it will be more difficult to overtake their more powerful counterparts. McLaren and Williams are likely to experience no significant impact, as their biggest issues aren't engine-related and their competitiveness won't change significantly. Both are focused on chassis improvements, weight reduction, and software optimization to improve their car's overall performance. Ferrari is clearly the most anticipated driver of this race, as they were granted 2 additional upgrades in the first phase. Ferrari is quite optimistic that this race will make a significant difference in the European Series mid-season, and they know Mercedes is quite concerned about this. Furthermore, with the rapid development of the 2026 car, it is projected that each team could find performance gains of at least half a second or even more with a single major upgrade. So it's clear that Ferrari has a great opportunity to catch up with Mercedes. However, their results will depend on how they maximize the FIA's ADUO, Aerodynamic Control Unit, in their engine development. Ferrari has strong fundamentals in terms of the chassis and aerodynamics of the SF26 and has proven capable of repeatedly troubling Mercedes. If they can gain additional horsepower from ADU, it could play a significant role in mounting a tougher challenge against Mercedes mid-season. Haas will also benefit, given that they receive nearly 85% of the factory team's information and data on Ferrari's engine optimization. They are already quite good, with their car consistently superior in almost every aspect, and the added performance from ADUO could help Haas maintain their points lead over Alpine and Red Bull. Cadillac's main focus now is adapting to operational issues and establishing a rhythm in car development. They plan to launch major upgrades in Miami and Canada that could at least improve their car's performance enough to qualify for Q2. Audi and Honda clearly need additional upgrades from the ADUO to boost their engine performance mid-season. Audi isn't actually bad in terms of top speed. However, inconsistent engine mapping and a number of reliability issues have been a problem in the opening 3 rounds, forcing Audi to reduce its engine power in some conditions. The car's chassis also continues to exhibit negative characteristics, particularly on corner exits, where Hülkenberg and Bottas frequently experience snap. Honda clearly needs the ADUO to improve Aston Martin's situation, which is currently languishing at the bottom of the standings due to having the weakest engine on the grid. However, Honda's problem isn't just the engine's significant power lag. They also need to find a compromise to improve reliability and minimize vibration issues from the AMR26 chassis. One race clearly won't be enough for Honda to improve its situation at Aston Martin. The biggest loser in this first race is Red Bull RBPT, who didn't get a chance because their engine turned out to be quite powerful and only 1% behind Mercedes. With Red Bull's main issues revolving around the chassis and weight of the car, not receiving an additional engine upgrade will likely worsen their current situation. Red Bull has planned a series of upgrades to improve the car's handling, but reflecting on the past 2 seasons, with facilities that haven't been updated yet, it's very difficult for them to provide component upgrades that directly affect the car. Moreover, under the 2026 regulations, they can't aggressively tweak the setup, which apparently doesn't improve the car's performance as it does in ground effect. Racing Bulls will also be affected, but not significantly. Liam Lawson admitted that the team's points tally so far has masked some of their problems. Their chassis weaknesses are offset by the RBPT's superior straight-line performance, making them very difficult to overtake once they gain track position. Not receiving the ADUO will likely impact Racing Bull's advantage on the straights. Therefore, it can be concluded that the implementation of the ADUO is expected to impact the competitive landscape primarily by preventing the dominance of one team. While it remains uncertain whether it will work, this is a concrete step by the FIA to make F1 racing at least more attractive from a competitive standpoint throughout the season.